Good afternoon, everybody. As I was saying, today we have a lot of ground to cover. This lecture is actually the result of former two lectures that I've been developing in the last couple of years. But I decided to consolidate the two lectures, dropping all what I believe is less relevant in order to give you the substance that I wanted to share with you before leaving. We are going to have a final lecture on January 9, and we are going to have your lecture, that is the presentation of your take-home projects, on the 16th of January. But in order to give you all the materials that I believe are necessary for you to make conscious choice of about the topic to address in your home working, if you decide, because it's optional, of course, to do it. I wanted to be sure that you have all the materials that are relevant. So, I beg your pardon, I will ask you to follow me, even it's going to be quite heavy, the lecture. Good. So, the theme of today is theoretical, social, and ethical issues related to artificial intelligence. But before moving to this, I'm sure that some of you would like to have more details about the opportunity of the take-home assignments. So, students may develop an optional take-home assignment in groups of 2 or 3 are expected to deliver by January 5th a report in English of no more than 5 pages, plus table, figures and methodology, and the PowerPoint presentation, also 5 slides, possibly no more. I can accept exceptions, of course. On top of this, you can add all what you want. Bibliography, documentation, attachments, a book, whatever you want. But what we are going to evaluate is the quality of the work that you're doing, the way you're presenting it. An abstract of the project must be delivered by November 10. So, in 1 week time, you have to send to me and to Professoressa Bellini, to both of us, an abstract inclusive of objectives, content, and methodology. Presentation will be by the working groups will be on January 16. What do I mean by methodology? Some of you asked me. I have replied to some of you, but I'll tell you in a moment. Of course, the assessment of your projects will be competitive, like everything you will do in your working life is going to be competitive. So up to a maximum of 1/3 of students can score 3 points, not necessarily. Maybe no one of you can deserve 3 points. I trust many of you will deserve 3 points, but just 1/3 of you will get it. Meritocracy. Up to a maximum of 33% of students can score 2 points, and the other projects can score up to 1 point. That means that some of them may even deserve a 0 point, but this is very unfortunate, and I trust will not happen. The assessment criteria of the projects are the following: originality. So, I don't want you to crowd on the most popular themes. Be original, be creative. Contents. The quality of the contents and the organization of the contents is going to be, of course, essential. Presentation, 5 slides plus attachments. Each group is going to have 5 minutes. I want all the members of the group to present. So I don't want followers and laggards. I want a fair participation to the activity of the group, to the result. Is gonna ChatGPT be allowed? Of course, ChatGPT is a part of life now. I frankly don't care at all about this. I care about the fact that you are making a critical use of ChatGPT. So pretend you to clear how you use it, how you added value on top of it, how you use it as one of the many tools that you can use in research. And here at this point, methodology is important. Considering some of you asked me what I mean by methodology, these are research methodologies. I put together a quick guide. So basically, I have the opportunity, of course, of you have the opportunity to use in primary research. So you make your own survey. Secondary research, you collect data that have been developed by others and collected by others. SurveyMonkey, an online questionnaire to a population. Focus group, a group chat about an app, for example, or a group chat about a specific theme. Interview, one-to-one conversation like talking to experts. You can decide to address the best experts in a certain domain, quantum computing. Delphi method, multiple rounds of expert opinions, unit agreement, asking AI specialists, for example, about the future. Or observation. You can observe, in terms of as a social methodology, observe something that's happened, the behavior of somebody that's busy doing something that is relevant for you, like watching students use a website, for example. There is a multiplicity, and here can you ask ChatGPT inside one of these areas? Certainly. But if you provide me with something that's being delivered by ChatGPT, first of all, you're going to use an anti-plagiarism software, just to make sure, and then you recognize it. The style of ChatGPT is still pretty clear to recognize at a glance. And so this ChatGPT is a tool, is not the product. Remember this, please. Now, then you can deceive me, of course. Everybody can do it. But we are not here to deceive each other, isn't it? This is a course on ethics. Remember it. So, moving on, lecture 10. Today, the lecture is going to be divided in two parts. First part is what the difference between data and information, datafication and digitalization, correlation versus causation, the end of the theory. Second part is about artificial intelligence, definition, the Turing test and the Chinese room experiment, the frame problem and the symbol grounding problem, AI productive and reproductive, and the 4 phases of AI enterprise that are going to be the conclusion. So a lot of ground, guys. So, question, what is the difference between data and information? Please.
Data cannot be used to make decisions, however, information can help you to make important decisions.
Sure, this is the effect, but why?
Because information is an organized form for data, and data is scattered information.
Sounds like. That's good. Excellent answer, I have to say, but I wanted to have something more. This is what I want to have, the general definition of that. That's the definition of Professor Floyd. You don't find it into the fourth revolution. It's been given in a former work of Floyd. Being X being distinct from more epsilon, where X and epsilon are two uninterpreted variables and the relation of being distinct, as well as the domain, are left open to further interpretation. In summary, a datum is ultimately reducible to a lack of uniformity. This is simply what a datum is. Lack of uniformity. It's defined because a datum is different from another one. This definition can be applied in 3 main different ways. Data can be lax of uniformity in the real world, a red light against a dark background. Can be lax of uniformity between 2 physical states in a system of signals, dot and dashes in Morse code. Data can be lax of uniformity between 2 symbols, letters B and P. Clear enough? Good. So far, so good. So, what about information? Let's see. General definition of information is what I require you to know perfectly, because it's essential for all what you say today. Sigma is an instance of information understood as semantic context if and only if it consists of n data for n, I have to say, higher or equal to 1. The data are well formed, that is, they are rightly put together according to the syntax, to the rules that govern the chosen system, code, or language being used. 3. The well-formed data are meaningful. That is, they must comply with the meaning, with the semantics of the chosen system, code, or language in question. Therefore, sigma is an instant information if it consists of an data, if the data are well-formed, if the well-formed data are meaningful. These are the 3 characteristics of information. These are the basis of our definitions of artificial intelligence. What is artificial intelligence? What's not? What's artificial intelligence? Better, what's artificial intelligence from the productive standpoint or for the reproductive, from the cognitive or for engineering kind of approach? Datafication. What's the difference between datafication and digitization? Same thing? Any of you? Come on, guys. We have to be quick today. We don't have much time. Okay. You're lucky because you don't have much time. So, I go before to the definition and then to this part. To datafy a phenomenon is to put it into a quantified format so it can be tabulated and analyzed. Doesn't need to be digital. Datafication was invented de facto centuries before digitization. Digitization is the process of converting analog information into zeros and ones or binary code so computers can handle it. And in short, digitization turbocharges datafication, but it's not a substitute. It's not. It's synonymous. So coming back, let's take a few examples. Many people in the tech industry will say credit the transformation to the new digital tools, but the deeper reason for these trends is that we have far more data. It's just because we have big data that we are moving to a following step. Because we are converting more aspects of our reality into a data format. But it's happened a lot of time before. 3 examples. Yeah. Okay, doesn't work. I will go by heart. Commander Maury is a pioneer of datafication. No one of us ever heard about Commander Maury, I believe. Commander Maury was, a couple of centuries ago, was an officer of the US Navy. He was a young, promising officer. And was on a ship, normally. And another officer, a colleague of him, slided on the surface and hit him right on the femur. And he broke the femur. And so you understand that at this point, your future in the Navy is over. And it was badly repaired by a surgeon of a village on the coast. So, the guy at this point was sent behind the counter in an office. In an office was called chart depot, a deposit of charts. And there was a lot of powder, of course. It was a place that nobody wanted to be. And this guy on the opposite said, I'm sitting on a great asset. Because there were all the experiences of all the commanders of the Navy that for a couple of centuries have been recording there all the routes that they've been following, the winds that they found, the currents, everything. And this was very relevant, of course. And the problem is how to take advantage of this. So what he did, he started, first of all, divided the Atlantic in squares of, shut up please, of 5 degrees of latitude and longitude, and identify for each quadrant all the characteristics that had been recorded in all the maps before. And then he started, he sent out a form to all the commanders that was compulsory to fill in. So when they were returning from their travels, they had to fill in the forms in order to give all the information about all what they found across their routes. And this way, he was able to identify the most efficient routes around the various seas. And this became the main tool for the Navy, a very competitive tool, and then for all the commercial fleet, in order, of course, to optimize the trips. Because before, commanders were going through the roads, the ways that they already knew before, but they were not necessarily the best ones, on the opposite. And so that's the first case of massive datafication. Another one is Owen Etzioni. Owen Etzioni was traveling to the West Coast for attending the wedding of his son. And was a guy that liked a lot to plan in advance. So 1 year before, he bought the ticket, saying this way you're going to get the best deal. Then on the plane, he started asking around if this was true, how much the other travelers had paid. And he discovered that unfortunately many of them had paid less than him. And so he was furious about this and said, I have to discover why. So what he discovered was that there was not a clear logic behind this. The logic was known just to the airlines. And what he did at this point was to put together substantially an algorithm in order to understand according to which correlations the price was optimized. And so not the why, by the what. Looking for the what and not for the why, he came out with an algorithm that enabled substantial saving to the travelers. Of course, the airlines were extremely pissed off by this thing. And at the end, he sent up a company and he said, as usual, to Microsoft for more than $100 million. I will do the case of Google later. All of them took information generated for one purpose and converted it into something else. So, as I was saying, the use of data predates digitalization. Clear enough? Good. Let's move on. Google versus Amazon model. Google's plan to digitize every book is from 2004. They plan to digitize every book they could get hold of, and then enable everyone to search for and access them to the internet for free. But these texts were not searchable. So what did they do? Datafine text to optical character recognition software made them indexable and thus searchable, and usable also for computers to process and for algorithms to analyze. From this, of course, a lot of implication quantitative analysis of text. The result was a datafied text rather than a digitized picture of the text. And a lot of application followed from this. Amazon followed another approach, a different strategy with its Kindle ebook readers. As datafied books too, and differently from Google, has focused on selling millions of them to Kindle. They convinced hundreds of publishers to release their books on the Kindle format, but they see their book business based on the content that humans read, rather than on the analysis of datafied text. So, Amazon understands the value of digitizing content, while Google understands the value of datafying it. This is the beginning of their history. Now, there is this separation, conceptual separation of the strategies of datafication and digitization among these two main players, main global players. Amazon is interesting even because for another model. So, Amazon at the beginning was substantially a startup selling books online, Amazon.com. And the analyst, Greg Linden, joined them in 1997. And Amazon was at the following business model. They employed techies, book critics, and editors to write reviews and suggest new titles. And was quoted as the nation's most influential books critics. And so substantially, let's say that 28 years ago, Amazon was substantially known as substantially a great book critic that was even selling books. And they were selling them on the basis of the critics and on the basis of this model. From the start, Amazon had captured realms of data on all its customers, but had processed them in the conventional way by taking a sample and analyzing it to find similarities among customers. So on the way, according to which customers were sharing views that were influenced substantially by the critics. Results were disappointing. They tended to offer you tiny variations on your previous purchase. So Jeff Bezos was not happy at all about this model. So Jeff Bezos thought, what if the company could recommend specific books to customers based on their individual shopping preferences rather than as a result of critics' reviews and advice? So you understand, considering that comparing the views of the different customers, I don't get much in terms of sales and profits. Let's simplify the model. So let's see what you like, and let's see on the basic of what you like, what you could like of the same kind. And this is the model that we know well. Netflix is the same. At the end, most of electronic commerce has adopted this model. The system didn't need to compare people with other people, but it needed to find correlation among products themselves. Not comparing people with other people, but correlations of the product with similar products. The company ran a test comparing sales achieved by machine-generated content versus human editors. And the editors were fired. Period. Very simple. And so the model, of course, based on the correlation of products with similar products, became the standard de facto of the e-commerce market. In our second course, in the digital economy course, we are going to analyze the techniques according to which this is put at work. It works. So at the end of the day, you enter in the concept of correlation versus causation that you know well. You know that, of course, correlation is not causation. So what? This is obvious for all of us. But what's behind it? Correlations are useful in a small data world, but in a context of big data, they really shine. So correlation are certainly, the value of correlation is enhanced by the environment of the big data. Excuse me, gentlemen, if you stop speaking, thank you. Okay? Thank you very much. This is a tough job, guys. Therefore, at its core, a correlation quantifies the statistical relationship between the two data values. This is known to everybody of you. The case of Google Flu Trends. Case of Google Flu Trends is a school case. Around 2010, something like this. 2009, exactly. The Center for Computer for Diseases in the US was working in order to deal with the breaks of flu, con l'epidemia di influenza. In this way, they were collecting data from all the regions in the US. They were assembling, processing them, and understanding what the trends were. This means 2 weeks' time. In 2 weeks' time, of course, the flu is spreading around. Google came out with a method in order to use the internet and to go and identify the keywords that the people were looking for in order to be informed about the trends of the flu. So using these keywords as a proxy, they were able to identify an algorithm enabling them to predict, to immediately realize in real time, and then predict the trends of the flu. And this is an essential tool, clear enough? So the issue is revolutionary from this standpoint, because you move from managing data in a traditional way to a capability of reaction on the phenomena that are happening on the market that's extremely more efficient. So correlation let us analyze a phenomenon not by shedding light on its inner workings, but by identifying a useful proxy for it. This is a very important concept, the concept of proxy. Of course, although that come from statistics, this is a very simple kind of notion, but I'd like all of us to be on the same playing level field. So, by letting us identify a real good proxy for a phenomenon, correlations help us capture the present and predict with a certain likelihood the future. If A often takes place with proxy B, we need to watch out for B to predict that A will happen. This is a simple concept, isn't it? But it's essential because, as we are going to see, in order to move from an hypothesis-driven to a data-driven scientific way of proceeding. The case of Walmart and the hurricane. Any of you like Pop-Tarts? Pop-Tarts. No Americans here? Yeah. Pop-Tarts, can you explain to the colleagues what a Pop-Tart is? No? Really? Pop-Tarts is a Jewish kind of tart that is used for breakfast by Walmart. Walmart is saying it. And Walmart discovered that in proximity of a hurricane, a lot of people were preparing for the hurricane, of course, and they were buying a lot of flashlights, materials, to protect their houses, and so on. And in correlation with this, they discovered that they were buying a lot of Pop-Tarts. So the basis of this thing, analyzing, of course, all the consumer goods that they were bought in proximity of a hurricane, they put together a package of products that they were accumulating in front of their shops in order to provide, you understand, the package for the hurricane. And guys, smart. So this is, how to say, the great advantage of the correlation. Long before big data, correlation analysis proved valuable. As I was saying, even the era of before the big data, when there were just a few data available, correlation proved valuable. Yet before big data, usefulness was limited because data was scarce and collecting it was expensive. So statisticians often choose a proxy, then collected the relevant data and ran the correlation analysis to find out how good the proxy was. A scientific method. It's very simple. We know it like this. The question, how could they select the right proxy in a non-big data environment? For you that are used to the machine learning, that's an easy question. Now it's easy. The system is doing it for you. But in the former period, how could they select the right proxy? To guide them, experts used hypotheses driven by theories. So we started from a theory in order to interpret a phenomenon. Think to Galileo looking at, come si dice, pendolo? Pendulum? At the pendulum in the church in Pisa, and trying to understand, of course, physical theories on the basis of this, no? And so the basis of this, what does it do? What were they doing? Abstract ideas about how something works, an hypothesis driven by a theory, and knowledge progress through the hypothesis-driven trial and error. And then you check if the hypothesis works or not. And if it doesn't work, you choose another one. And you go on and go on. Very time and effort expensive. It was a cumbersome process, but applicable in a small data world. In the big data age, it is no longer efficient to make decisions about what variables to examine by relying on hypotheses alone. Datasets are far too big, and the area is too complex. But now we have so much data and computing power available to enable sophisticated computing analysis to identify the optimal proxy. So it's the system that's doing it for you and for us. It's what you do with machine learning. So no longer do we necessarily require a valid substantive hypothesis about a phenomenon to begin to understand our world. By subjecting big data to correlation analysis, we can use a data-driven approach instead of the hypothesis-driven one. It's a mental revolution. What Baricco would call a mental revolution, this one. Perhaps not. Perhaps it's too much, but okay. But certainly is a lot of scientific revolution, this one. Now, so we are moving from an hypothesis-driven model to a data-driven approach. So, predictions based on correlations lie at the heart of big data. I see a couple of proxies. The case of Aviva predictive model for identifying high risk. Aviva is a large insurance group. And insurance group work in this way, more or less. When you have to insure people on life, you tend to collect as many information as possible about the health situation. And in order to do this, what you do? You ask to have a lot of exams. And you have blood exams, urine exams, and so on. And there's a very complex process and very expensive. So collecting all the information for having the basic elements in order to ascertain or to evaluate if a person deserves to be insured or if it's too risky, so it's better to let him go. They had to spend in average $120 of exams. And they decided it was too much. And so they decided to use a different system. So basically collecting all the data that you can get to your beloved cookies. And so they are getting a lot of information about the financial situation, about the way of living, how much time a person is spending in front of the TV, how much fit they are, if they're doing sport or not, how old they are, of course, what in general their health condition and so on. And assembling all this data, they are getting a picture that for them is good enough, and the cost is $5. So you understand that $5 versus 120 makes a lot of difference. And so in the case, the predictive model, based on the correlation versus proxies that were substantially all, how to say, the surrounding information about the conditions of the healthcare of a person, enabled them to revolutionize the profit and loss of the company. Dura, eh? Nostro servizio sanitario. Some unpleasant implication, the target case. You know the target case, I believe. The target case, no, I'm not asking. I'd like to know just who knows it. You're laughing, so you know it. Target case, target is chain of supermarkets in the US. And it's called Target because they're using targeting strategies in order to optimize their sales strategies. So substantially, they are looking for keywords in order to base a predictive strategy of what products different kind of consumers can look after. And they realized, on the basis of all their market researches, that pregnant women had a specific purchasing model, according to which, for example, 3 months after getting pregnant, they were starting buying unscented lotions. And then they were buying different kind of stuff in preparation of the birth of the baby. And so they were able to assemble a kind of package targeted on the different phases of the pregnancy, and they started publicizing it to the women that were in the band of age where, of course, they could be fertile. And at the beginning, it was very successful. Then at a certain point, the manager of the chain got the visit of a man, very angry. They say, "How did you dare to send this kind of message to my daughter, that's 16-year-old, and it's adolescent at the end, and do you want to force her to get pregnant?" So basically, you understand that it's very serious, no, for the image, for the reputation of the company. And so they tried to understand, this is a crisis situation, we have to do something, God. While they were working out the crisis, how to manage the crisis situation, they got another call from the same man saying, hey, I've spoken to my daughter and I realized that some activity that I was not aware of was happening in my house. So actually, my daughter is actually pregnant, and so I apologize. And this is, how to say, a case of hyper efficiency of a sales strategy. If you are going to be working in the area of marketing or this kind of goods, pay attention, of course, be cautious. Always better to be a bit cautious with this kind of thing that have to do with personal values and conditions. Finding proxies in social context is only one way that big data techniques are employed. For finance, predictive analytics is used in business to foresee events before they happen. For instance, predictive maintenance. I've been working on the case of the Morandi Bridge, and I was expecting that they had all kind of predictive maintenance in place. On the opposite, the only predictive maintenance that they had in order to understand the probability of the bridge to fall was that they were recording, their cameras recording the traffic on the bridge, and there was a poor man that on a weekly basis was looking at the videos, period. That's all. So you understand that this can be really very serious. Lack of predictive maintenance. So the correlation show what, not why, but knowing what is often good enough. Not always. Furthermore, before big data, most correlation analysis using large data sets were limited to looking for linear relationship. In reality, many relationships are far more complex. So with more sophisticated analysis, we can identify non-linear relationship among data. So, the case, do you believe there is a, how to say, a linear correlation between happiness and income? That means, in other words, do you believe that getting more rich, you get more happy? Huh? Of course not. It's not a linear correlation. But it's something that you have to study. Because, for example, for tax strategies by government, it's very important. If you decide, of course, if you understand at which level people start to get indifferent because of tax reliefs, you have a clear guideline in order to design tax strategies for your country. Even because, of course, it's obvious that if you give the same relief to a person that's earning 1,000 euros per month or to somebody who's earning 50,000 euros per month, it's very different. No, it's obvious. Obvious that there is not a linear relationship. But which relationship? You need, of course, to dig into it. Causation. But does causation, I don't know if you wondered if causation really exists. In your opinion, does causation really exist? Your colleague says yes. Why?
Because if I jump off a bridge, I die. So I'm pretty sure that my death was caused by me jumping off the bridge.
Okay. New realism. This is follower of the new realism. When we say that humans see the world through causation, we are referring to two fundamental ways. To quick causation, a matter of how human cognition works, or via slow methodical causal experiment. I'm referring to Daniel Kahneman, Thinking Fast and Slow, wonderful book that I recommend you to read. Both our fast and slow thinking modes will be subject to extensive reality checks, and they all will be transformed by big data correlation. But the case of the vaccine against rabies, Louis Pasteur. The case is the following. When Jacob Meister was a baby, I don't know if 9 or 11 years old, and was bitten by a rabid dog. Stato morso da un cane con la rabbia. And Pasteur has a vaccine ready, but it was untested. And the parents of the boy, you know that by rabies you die, asked him to try the vaccine. And he tried the vaccine, injected the vaccine, and the baby survived. Okay, and this could show that, of course, causation exists because you inject the vaccine and the guy survives. But the problem is that 1 out of 7 people that are bitten by dogs, just 1 out of 7 is dying, or the other one are surviving in a case. So at the end of the day, the correlation is not so linear. Because much like correlation, causation can rarely, if ever, be proven, but only shown with a high degree of probability. And except, of course, in the case of the new realism that your colleague is professing. Moreover, correlations are not only valuable in their own right, but by telling us which two things are potentially connected, they allow us to investigate further whether a causal relationship is present, and if so, why. So, data-driven correlation analyses are often superior not just to most results of fast thinking, but even to slow causal thinking that is epitomised by slow, carefully controlled experiments. Superiority, therefore, of data-driven correlation. The cognitive process that's based on searching the what instead than the why is more effective than the more traditional way of thinking. And we come to the end of the theory. Do you know Chris Anderson? Chris Anderson. Go and read, George Box was saying this, all models are wrong, but some are useful. Cynical but true. Chris Anderson, look for this article, The End of Theory, as he says, the data deluge makes the scientific method obsolete. Why? Because, of course, looking for the what gives more cognitive results than simply the traditional looking for the why in a small data kind of environment. So as we transition from hypothesis-driven world to data-driven world, we may also be tempted to think that in addition, we no longer need theories. Theory is at the basis of an hypothesis, and the hypothesis is important in order to have a good day. And the hypothesis is essential in order to understand the correlation. If the correlation between a phenomenon and what you suppose is cause is valid or not. Otherwise, you need to look for another one. A data-driven world, you simply look for the what. In the Peter-Barrett theorem, correlation supersedes causation. Correlation is enough. You don't need models anymore. This is what he was saying. It's not the first one. Bacon was already saying the facts would speak for themselves if one accumulated enough of them. But Chris Anderson says with enough data, the numbers speak for themselves. In your opinion, do numbers speak for themselves? You're doing this job. The data sets that you analyze to machine learning, you're doing machine learning, isn't it? So they speak from themselves? Your guy, our friend, is disgusted. do data actually speak for themselves? Okay. Big data is based on theories, statistical, mathematical, computer science. It shapes both our methods and our results. Big data begins with how we select data. So, it's true that big data is more effective than hypothesis-driven method of knowledge, but itself is based on theory and hypothesis. So at the end of the day, this is a recurring process. And Chris Anderson backpedaled from his theory very quickly, was attacked by a number of experts of the sector. Good. So this is the end of this third part. I recommend to look at Victor Meyer Schoenenberg and Kenneth Kurkiev. This book is from 2013. It's the best thing that's been written on big data and on the relationship between correlation and causation and about datafication and digitization. So if you're interested in this topic, he wrote another book that's Reinventing Capitalism in the Age of Big Data, but we are using it in the second course because it builds on this foundation. Kahneman is a pleasure for the mind. So I definitely suggest you to read it. Okay, so I give you 5 minutes because I believe that are useful. I have a question. I've seen an unusual number of people leaving. Does this depend that the team is particularly complex or what? Give me feedback. I need a feedback. What do you believe there is a problem? Ah, capisco. Sì, sì. No, but excuse me, I'm not angry with them. I'd like to understand to get a feeling from you, because the second part is going to be complex too. So, okay, that's fine. So, trust me, I'm going to do as much as possible in order to keep it. But give me feedback, please, because if I'm addressing themes that generate some problem, I need to understand. Okay? Thank you. Take 5 minutes, no more, because we have a lot of ground to cover in the second part. Okay. Hey, great. What can I do for you?
Actually, we were a little confused. So I want your guidance.
Please.
If I select the topic from there, I want the guidance on you that how would I proceed the in-depth research for it.
Okay.
Should I go online with the papers, or should I go in the library and the suggested reading that you provided?
You have to do both. My recommendation is, it depends. Let's make an example. Which kind of theme would you address?
Well, if I'm going with the theme of today, and you
Yeah,
suggested,
sure.
you
Okay.
suggested 3 books right now.
Oh, yeah.
So
No, but at the end, I'm going to give you 5 take-home projects, possible options for 5 take-home projects at the end of this lecture. So probably we can reconvene after and see if you select one of them, how you could proceed in order to address it. But in general, the issue is that what you have to do is you go online, you saw all the main sources that there are. Go to ChatGPT, there is no problem. And you see which are the main sources that you can find. But don't do just this. You go into the, yeah, exactly. Right? Look for papers that have been written specifically for these things that are not quoted by ChatGPT in general, you understand? So there are, it depends on how focused is the theme that you are going to address. And what I've shown the methodologies. The methodologies means that you can even decide to run a monkey survey, survey monkey.
Where I'm living in my dorm, if I'm a student.
Yes, you can decide that you want to see what, at the end of the day, what the youth are thinking about the various LLM that there are around and which are perceived as more useful, as more focused on the themes that you like to address.
And all those materials, I attach them in
Oh
the
yes,
attachments.
absolutely, absolutely. And then you can decide for the same team to do a Delphi or to do in any case a focus group. You know, you can go to three teachers of this university and to ask them what they think about this thing.
So I can also go physically to other teachers.
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely. That's a part of the methodology. The originality is the fact that you don't go simply to look for things that are already been. If you put together, the more you provide original content, the better. No, the quality is not to provide what's available. ChatGPT is available to everybody. But if you want a theoretical thing related, for example, I make an example. You decided to focus on the fact that it's possible to introduce moral values inside an algorithm. Who's the best one in Italy about this thing? Professor Cavizza. You go to Professor Cavizza is going to tell you, no, I'm very busy, you say, I don't care, and you go on. So look for the best experts, because it's going to be useful for your professional job. Your professional job is not going to, because everybody is able to go to look at ChatGPT. But not everybody is able to go to Professor Cavizza or to go to, how to say, authorities or prestigious intellectual authorities about a theme, because you need the guts in order to do this, another thing. No? You need to raise the telephone, to wait for him outside of the university. The methodology shows how creative you are. Yeah.
The originality of the content.
Absolutely, originality. Yeah, the originality of the content and of the method of research that you're choosing. No.
I was thinking of doing a survey, and if I get 50 or 60 students, is it fine? The number doesn't bother you?
Look, at the end of the day, you will never be able to get a representative sample. No, because if the number is 100, you need the whole universe in order to be a representative. If the number is very high, you will never get the number that you need in order to have a representative sample. So, frankly, what you get in any case is a hint. It's, of course, no. The issue is that it's not important to understand if the market is going to grow 5.6 or 5.8% next year. What's important is to understand when a market will start growing or will start going down, because this makes the difference between competitive strategies. Okay, it's the inflection point. Is to understand when you can expect the inflection point. This makes all the difference of the world. No? So that looking for discontinuities. And the other thing that you can expect is look for what you don't expect to find. So be open to when you do research. I've done research all my life. All the time that I discover something really relevant, I had the impression I have a hole in the sample. It cannot be. When you find something that you say it cannot be, probably you are on something that's really big. Okay? So, this I mean by methodology.
Thank you. It cleared a lot. Thank you.
Right, and certainly happy to give advice on concrete cases.
I will also email you. I have some stuff.
Email, use my email. It's gonna to take me some time to answer, but I will answer.
No worries. I know you're busy, but I would really like your advice.
Okay,
Thank you.
good. Okay. Other questions? Wow. I cannot evaluate it here, but send it to me because it seems very attractive. Okay? Good. Send it to me and I will review it. I'm simply saying by email. Of course, by email. Sure. Of course, I will give you write to me by November 10th. Yes.
Some of
You find learning and I'm doing the evaluation on the basis.
presentation is a part of exams.
Wait a minute.
Sessional works.
No,
Going to be we can
don't let me know because you can have being oh God. So for the recording, I apologize because I didn't stop the registration. So all our conversation have been recorded, and that's fine like this. Of course, there is nothing to hide. And on the opposite, you can understand what we've been talking about. Good. So we reconvene and we start. Good. So. Thank you for all your comments and positive criticism and so on. I really appreciate it. A few things. First of all, this part is on artificial intelligence. It's a lot of stuff. I'm going to try to keep it short. But these are important issues. But I wanted to share them with you in order you to be able to take them into account when selecting your the theme of your take-home project. Second thing, I have one request for all of you. At the end of this course, probably starting from, I believe, from December 5th, you will be required to give an evaluation of the course. I have two requests. The first request is that you give an evaluation. Because very often, what happens is that if you are happy with the course, you don't give an evaluation. If you are not happy with the course, you give heavy evaluation, very bad evaluations. It's not fair, excuse me. So from this standpoint, you understand all the effort that you are putting into preparing this course and delivering it. It's really physical effort. So I'm asking you, please give an evaluation, what we deserve. Second, I have asked to have personal evaluation for every teacher, because I believe that's fair that each of us has a feedback. Important that each of us learns what we're doing well, what we can do better, and this can be given just by you. You are the customers. Excuse me if I use this relationship. And we need to get, in order to improve, we need to understand the value that you get, that you perceive from our lectures. So please give an evaluation as soon as you will be required for each of the two modules, social issues and juridical, and give it for each single teacher. I have asked explicitly that you are allowed to give individual evaluations. The more granular is the evaluation, the better. The more useful it is for us. And the more useful it will be for the students that will follow you. Good. So what are we talking about when we are talking about artificial intelligence? It's a lot of stuff. I even will not go through it. I will start with the definition. I will start and stop. I have 3 pages of definitions, no? But I like Florides. Common sense, experience, learning and rational abilities, communication skills, memory, the capacity to see something as something else and repurpose it, inferential acumen, placing someone in someone else's shoes. These are only some of the essential ingredients that can make a behavior intelligent. I wouldn't be able to express it in a better way. I don't know if some of you have some consideration to add or to change. Is intelligence is what distinguishes us? Well, there are 3 pages. I won't go through them because I have no time. I will leave it to your consideration. I have Steinberg, Minsky, Ray Kurzweil, the European Parliament, Alan Turing, Rita Kuchiara, and the nicest of all is Tesla. They say AI is whatever hasn't been done yet. It's okay, fine. So let's review them. But this was just in order to clear what we are talking about. Now, whatever it is, assuming, of course, that we start from the definition of Floride, I will share with you 2 videos. The first video is 9 years old and is the Turing test. And has the same age, more or less, of the book of Floride. And you see that's very primitive. I did it on purpose because then we will see what happened later. Then we'll go to the Chinese room experiment. That's John Searle. And we'll see a development on the former one. You can see, oh God. Give me a hand in order to be able to share it with you.
Il nostro viaggio in Cina inizia da
excuse me.
qui.
Sembrano dei fiori mossi dal vento.
Immergersi in un mondo di favole.
I need help from a qualified engineer in order to come here. Otherwise, you'll never see it. Condividi questa roba, va? Eccolo lì. Così.